guys, happy fall, happy spooky season. I'm super stoked today to show you my Halloween home decor video kitchen edition. This will be the first video in my series of Halloween home decor tours. And if you're new here, hi and welcome. Thank you for joining me today and everybody else in the spooky community. As we get excited about fall and Halloween, I can't wait to really just kind of dive into this video and show you guys what we did with our kitchen. So if you've been following me for a while, you know that we bought a 1930s cottage. It's a storybook cottage, and I wanted to turn it into my own little witchy cottage. For the past 2 years, the kitchen has been gutted, and we have been sort of living in a makeshift working kitchen. And we had a cabin in Louisiana. Actually, we still have the cabin. We put it up for sale. And I thought, well, as soon as the cabin sells, we'll just take the money from the cabin sale and really refurbish this kitchen. But the cabin's been on the market for a while. So it's a slow seller because I think it's a little bit of a unique property. If you want to see how the cabin looked, I have a wonderful video. It is called Halloween in Our Enchanted Cabin. And that was my first Halloween decor video. So take a look at that if you're interested to see how the cabin looked. And we just thought for sure somebody would want that beautiful cabin, but right now it's taken its time, sweet time to sell. So you know what? I'm a real bootstrapper, go-getter, do-it-yourself kind of a girl. So I thought, hey, how hard can it be to replaster a kitchen, lath and plaster? And you know, it turns out it's not so hard. It's a lot of work, it's messy, but it turned out pretty good, I have to say. Pat myself on the shoulder. Me and my husband did a pretty good job. So I will show you, before we get into the home decor video, the before, what it looked like, and then after. So if you like this kind of content, stick around, like, subscribe, let me know what you thought about it, and would you do anything differently? One of the cool things about this little kitchen of ours is I decided to make it more of a European style kitchen. And so it doesn't have built-ins, and it doesn't have the traditional stove, refrigerator, microwave situation. Well, actually, we don't have a stove at all. But I'll show you what we did instead. So let me start by saying that this is not a how-to video. This is just how me and my husband repaired the lath and plaster in this kitchen. The previous owners had tried to do a job, and I felt sorry and sad for them that they lost their house. The kitchen was just a mess. It looks like they tried to remodel. We had an electrician and a plumber come in and replace all of the electrical and the plumbing. One of the reasons we had to replace the plumbing is because someone actually stole all the copper pipes out of the bottom of this house when the place was vacant. But that was okay. We ended up getting new plumbing for that. So what we chose to do is use mold and mildew resistant sheetrock. And this is a tip that I learned from a Martha Stewart book, which she has a really great book on how to restore old houses. It's from the 90s. And she was also expounding on the fact that you really should try to restore lath and plaster if at all possible. It's a great insulator, plus it's a lost craft. It's historic to the home because the entire house is lath and plaster. And it's still a good building material. This house is almost 100 years old, so you can see where my husband repaired the broken lath, and he cleaned up the edges of the sheetrock, the plaster with a grinder. And then we went in and I started replastering where I could on the walls, the damage, any holes, anything that was just a kind of an eyesore. We ground off all the old liquid nails and tried really hard just to clean and prime the walls as much as possible. And yes, I plastered over the paint. It seems to be fine. I didn't have any issues with that. The sheetrock fits in really nicely if you just cut out and clean the edges, and then you can go in with smaller pieces of sheetrock, use the sheetrock tape, and then fill in with plaster. I used a really nice plaster. It was very lightweight and easy to work with. This is where the old washing machine and dryer was in this house. There's a spot there that you can see where the old water pipes are. And then my husband went in with a grinding tool and took off all of that old glue. He also removed the old pipes and cleaned up the whole area so that we could adhere the sheetrock to this lath. It wasn't too hard to do. You basically just have to screw the sheetrock to the lath, and it holds pretty well. and then you tape off like you normally do with sheetrock and then hand plaster over that. There was a large crack in this corner of the ceiling above the little alcove area where the stairwell is because water had leaked from the bathroom above and had damaged the ceiling. So he took sheetrock screws and screwed the plaster back up to the actual lath that's under there. And then I used tape and plaster to conceal and basically shore up and fix this crack. And I cannot believe how well this turned out. For months I kept thinking that section was going to fall off the wall. So I was really pleased at how well it went. Here's my husband adding the sheetrock. As you can see, it just instantly made me feel better to see that lath covered up. Yes, we have been living with this exposed lath for 2 years. 2 years ago I knocked all this plaster out. So you can imagine I was pretty thrilled about that. Here I'm just finishing that up while he's doing that. And there you can see how pretty it looks now with the plaster over it. And then I'm going to continue to plaster this entire kitchen by hand. My hand practically fell off doing this project, especially after I painted. My son came in while I was doing this, and he does this too as part of his job. And he said, "Mom, you can do that a lot smoother if you want." And I said, No. We're going for an old world look. We're trying to match the plaster that is on the wall. And I want it to look like an old witch lives here, because she does. He was like, okay. So I went through a lot of boxes of plaster, but not plaster, it's really a joint compound. But it turned out so nice. I couldn't be more happy with the finished result, especially not seeing all that exposed lath, all the old glue. It was just gross. Here I started testing different paint colors in the light. I'm very proud of myself for doing this. Usually I just go for it and pick a color, and then I regret it later because it wasn't what I wanted. There was a color, I think it was Sherwin-Williams or Behr, called Pumpkin Pie, and I really wanted that color, but it just read too Tuscan yellow with the light in this kitchen. So we ended up using a really warm, creamy white color. I think it's called Slipper Satin, or Satin Slipper, and it just is perfect. So let's take a look. Here we go. I chose a color palette of creams, blues, soft teals, greens, and orange. I'm just going to let you guys look around and see everything. We have a very small refrigerator, a very small sink. Most everything that I used in the kitchen are things that we already had, or I thrifted or found while I was out Halloween decor hunting. But I've chose very few items this year. We didn't really need a lot of decor this year. I did buy those pumpkins from Decor Steals. I had already a couple of terracotta pumpkins, and I thought they'd look really nice here in the kitchen. The color palette is very soothing. It's very pretty. We have on this side of the house is east-facing light. So I chose a color palette that had some blues and greens in it that tends to look really nice in east-facing light, especially with that pop of orange. And I just thought it all turned out really nice. It's very vintagey, very 30s, 40s vibe is what I was going for. Also witchy at the same time. You will recognize some of the things I already have from previous videos. They're just restyled here. A new item is that wonderful octopus, the Kraken. I bought it for my husband's birthday, and I think it looks great here for the kitchen because it's got a little bit of a spooky vibe to it. And it holds our wine bottles nicely, so space is at a premium, if you can imagine, in this little kitchen. And since I went with more of a European decor aesthetic, I don't have built-in, so there's no cabinets. And so everything needs to be useful and in its place in this kitchen. Functional and decorative, and I just wanted to have this sort of witchy cottage kitchen vibe, and I think it turned out really nice. This green color that we did is a Pharaoh and Ball called Breakfast Room Green, and I like it. It kind of picks up a lot of the colors that I already have in the kitchen and some of our Halloween decor. My little kitty. Don't look at the floor. It still has bits of plaster on it. I'm not perfect, y'all. We're getting there. We still have to redo the floor. So this is the breakfast nook, and in the breakfast nook I put this little wooden sign that says welcome to the witching hour. This is just something that I picked up at Tuesday Morning a few years ago, and I repainted because I didn't really like how the graphics looked. So a lot of times these sign pieces are kind of flat looking, my kitty. And I thought, kind of touch it up and give it a makeover. Everything here is functional and decorative at the same time. I wanted everything to just be at your fingertips. It helps keep things a little more organized and neat. I found this cute Witch's Brew coffee sign. It needs to be antiqued a little. It's a little too stark, but I think for what I wanted to do here, it looks really cute. The piece of furniture is a black forest piece that my cousin brought back with her from Germany. And it's either German or French, we're not sure, but I bought it from her because I loved it. It had a broken little handle, and I've been wanting to fix that. It looks like a bat. The little handles look like bats. But I've been wanting to fix that, and the side is broken. That still needs to be repaired. But I love this piece. It's quirky. It's a sideboard that flips up, and it's perfect for our little coffee station. I put all of our cute little coffee mugs. I did get rid of a lot of mugs this year. I've just way too many. I don't know what it is about Halloween coffee mugs. They have got a chokehold on the spooky community. The coffee mugs I kept are some that I've ordered from Etsy creators that do beautiful stoneware mugs, and then I have one that's from the Troll Cookbook, and a couple of little ghosties and some mushroom mugs. Those vintage tollware pieces I've had for a little while, and I thought, well, they'll make great little holders for some of our little butter knives and things. And then you recognize those witchy plates. I have kind of an old school plate holder on the wall to keep everything kind of tidy. One of those mugs is from Cracker Barrel, and one is from Big Lots. I bet you can't tell the difference too much. They're so cute. So again, I think I'm going to go ahead and distress that. Just giving y'all another shot of that. I like tollware pieces. I collect the tollware, and these were really unique. They're like little wall sconces. So they were perfect for my little decorative, they're kind of like cheese knives and serving knives, but I think they're perfect for like butter and cream cheese for daily use. Otherwise, we would have them in the drawer and they'd only come out for parties. So I like finding uses for all these things. Kind of get a little creative with it. Again, with the mugs. I love my mugs. Over here, we keep the tea in that Joanna Parker punch bowl. And we've got our little witch and the Salem Broom Company sign. I've had that for a while. Everything here is pretty new except for the terracotta pumpkins. I did get those from Decor Steals. I think I may have mentioned that already. Just wanted to show you guys how the windows looked. I put a little lace up there just to keep it soft and simple. And I also found some really cute towels, dish towels from Home Goods. My favorite this year that I found were the little ghosty ones. I'll show y'all in a minute. I painted those pumpkins. They were all just kind of a blah gray color, and I gave them some color for the room. And there's those pumpkins again. I already had a couple of the terracotta. The two kind of whitewashed terracotta ones are from Decor Steals. And then the basket at the top, I keep all of our kitchen towels in. That painting is an oil. I love the colors. I think those are my favorite colors, those kind of darker, moody tones. Again, that is pokeweed. If you know the song from Elvis, Poke Salad Annie, that's what that is. The leaves are edible, but you have to cook them down. Otherwise, I believe they can be toxic to some people. The berries definitely are toxic, but they make a good dye from what I understand. And whenever I'm moving those berries around, my fingers get stained with them. They're just a beautiful color. We use them in cut flower arrangements too for like parties and things. So there's that tree of life my husband had bought for me a few years ago. And I just have some fun little things in the window. I just like experimenting and creating things just to give everything kind of an old world look. Here in the kitchen, we got a small refrigerator instead of a large one because the kitchen is so small. It's just kind of like the kind you'd put in a camper. But it actually works really great. We are so close in town to the grocery store. It is less than a 5-minute drive. So before I used to go into town once every couple of weeks and do a big grocery haul. I don't do that anymore. I just go run when we need something. Those brass pot holders I bought from a seller on Etsy. Those were in the cabin. They work great here. And then this is an old spice rack that my husband had. Those cookie cutters are vintage. I've had those for a long time. I did a little, these are just lace runners that I found on Amazon. Really simple, easy to throw up. I didn't need curtains in here originally, but I felt the windows looked a little stark. Got this cute retro style microwave. And this cabinet holds all of the spices and baking goods. As you can see, I don't have a stove. We haven't found the right stove that fits the space. But honestly, right now in the summer, I'm not cooking a lot of like baking. I have the little Ninja Foodie and I have a hot plate. Honestly, guys, between that, a microwave, and a toaster, it's pretty easy to have a kitchen. I like that this kitchen doesn't look like a normal conventional kitchen. It really is kind of the vibe that I wanted. And when I have the money to actually do something that's a little more custom, I will. But this, I think, just shows you that you don't have to have a ton of money to do something. You can make it still work. I mean, we lived in this kitchen for 2 years without anything. That little cat towel I've bought 3 separate times now. I've got one for me, one for my mother-in-law, and one for my daughter. Those are those cute little ghosty hand towels. So again, you can really do a lot with very little money. I think we get stuck in our heads that we have to do, a kitchen needs to be a certain way. You need to have the built-in counters and the farm sink and the whole 9 yards. But honestly, you can make it work with very little money. Like I said, this entire project was less than $1,000. Our most expensive thing in here was the refrigerator. So I hope that gives you a little comfort when you're kind of broke and you need to do something. You could still make it look nice. I used a folding table to create this little island here. I have a cute little bat bowl that I bought at Michael's. And I'm using it to hold the scissors and the pepper grinder here where I have my olive oil and vinegar. It's just a nice little chopping station. So as a reminder, here's how the kitchen looked before. And this was when we started painting. And again, that color I painted was called Satin Slipper. I think it's a bear color. And here's the rest of the kitchen. I didn't show you guys that before, but that's how the walls looked. All of the white you see is where I replastered. And it was so satisfying to cover up all those grungy walls and get them looking good again. I still don't have outlet covers because we haven't found any that we liked. And so you can see how nice that warm cream color looks with everything. It's just so pretty. It gives a lot of depth to the walls. I usually like color on the walls, but for me, I think this turned out much nicer with the decor that I have. If you want to see something funny, hang around here and watch me knocking all that plaster off of the walls. I could not wait to start this project, and then when I actually didn't get to finish it until 2 years later, you guys can imagine my frustration. So I really went to town knocking all that plaster. It was the biggest mess. Overall, pretty pleased with the result. What do you guys think? Would you do something like this for your kitchen? It's not conventional, but I think it's unique and it really does speak to our aesthetic and how we like to live. So let me know what you think about this in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you for joining, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I will have more videos coming out soon. We're just starting up our whole Halloween decor spooky season decorating videos, and there'll be more coming. So let me know what you think, and if you did like this video, please subscribe, please say hi, introduce yourself, say hello. I always try to respond to all the comments. And join our spooky community, our spooky family. There's so many great content creators here on YouTube that are doing some really cool stuff for spooky season, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.